COVID is surging in Taiwan, and a member of our team has it. I talk with Staś about what it feels like to have COVID-19.
Next, I take you to the Narrow Door Café, a hidden gem in the historic district of Taiwan's oldest city.
And in hashtag Taiwan, Leslie bids farewell to a COVID-19 measure that touched everyone's lives.
This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. Taiwan saw a record high of over 11,000 local COVID cases a day. A lot of people are really worried, but doctors are telling us not to panic. Hospitals are seeing an influx of people who want to get screened for COVID-19. And that's as Taiwan struggles with surging case numbers amid a shortage of home testing kits. Emergency care director at Taiwan Adventist Hospital, Dr. Han Chang-Wang, says his ward usually sees around 60 to 80 patients a day. But that number has grown to 200 to 300 over the past week because people want to get tested for COVID. Han says panic is behind the sudden influx. Many people who come don't even have symptoms and don't need to be tested. This run on hospitals is straining medical resources. Not only that, but people gathering outside of hospitals waiting for a test are further risking contamination. Taipei City Hospital, Dr. Sui Fong, says people in other countries are allowed to take nasal or saliva samples at home and send them to hospitals for testing. Hospitals will then send their results back within 1 to 2 days. Su says such a scheme could spare healthcare resources. Doctors are calling on people not to panic nor rush to the hospital. Around 99.5% of COVID cases this year have been mild or asymptomatic in Taiwan, and many people can recover at home. There's no need to rush to the hospital to be tested. Taiwan has just begun a rapid test distribution system through pharmacies and public health centers. You can buy 5 for 500 NT dollars. Bring your National Health Card or ARC on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday if yours ends with an odd number, and Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday if it ends with an even number. Now, one of our own, Staś Butler, has COVID-19 and is recovering at home. I caught up with him before the show. Hey, Staś. You are looking pretty good for someone who has COVID.
Thank you very much.
So I know that you got COVID from a friend when you're having dinner last Monday. Can you tell us how long it took for some symptoms to appear?
Yeah, so I think kind of symptoms took about 4 days to appear. I think it was kind of Friday that hit me. But I know it can be shorter for some. I think some of my friends it was as quick as the day after or 2 days after. And then for me, it was quite a kind of short and sharp thing, where I had kind of one bad day, which was I sort of just felt kind of achy, and I had a bit of a fever. I had a temperature of about 38 degrees Celsius, and but then after that I was quite quickly kind of fine again, and so since then I've just been dealing with the lingering effects of a cough and other things like that.
And you've been working all this time, haven't you?
Working hard, yeah. Never stops.
Such a trooper. So how has it been for you at home recovering? I mean, what have you had to do? Do you have to eat something or take any treatments?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been, trying to take care of myself. I did lose my appetite, actually. That's one thing. I kind of, when I was ill, I just didn't really feel like eating anything. And I'm someone that normally eats quite a lot, so that was unusual. So I had to kind of, I suppose, fight against my body's urge not to eat and force myself to kind of keep myself obviously hydrated and also to eat lots of food. Obviously had all the kind of vitamin C and all that kind of stuff, fruit and veg, and then also just some very simple kind of cold medicine as well, which has helped a little bit.
So I remember actually you went to the UK over Christmas to see your family, but you never caught it then. So how did you manage not to catch it back then?
When I was there, it was the Omicron wave in the UK, and it seemed like everyone was getting it. I was just pretty careful, I guess. I didn't spend any time indoors, really, in public places, either outdoors or in a private place, like someone's home. I was obviously wearing my mask everywhere. I also wasn't taking public transport. I was cycling everywhere, despite the bitter cold of London in December. So generally speaking, I was taking all the precautions I could.
So for someone who gets COVID in Taiwan, what is the exact protocol?
If you're kind of developing symptoms and so on, they will take you for a PCR test, I believe, is the kind of current protocol to kind of confirm your infection. They've sent me a nice little goodie box of things. Yeah, I've had some.
What was in your
noodles. Box? It's got some kind of what do you call them? Instant noodles and some biscuits. A couple of rapid tests, and a thermometer. I think that was it.
Was there any point where you were anxious or afraid that it could get a lot worse?
There was one point in the night where I woke up and my throat was kind of quite tight, and it was still okay, but I could get back to sleep and everything, but I did kind of think, well, I wouldn't want it to get any more tight than this. Do you know what I mean? Which does make me think, I'm very grateful for being protected, having had 3 doses of a vaccine. And if I were in weaker health or had other underlying health conditions and wasn't vaccinated, I would definitely look at this virus and feel a bit more worried. But if you have the protection, then I think it's something that most people can get through without too much of a problem.
Well, we're so glad that it hit you fairly lightly, and that it looks like you'll be out soon, right?
Yeah. Happy to be out fairly soon.
For people like Stash recovering at home, the government has something new in their care packages.
Taichung City Mayor Lu Xiuyan demonstrates how to use a pulse oximeter. The device measures the amount of oxygen in your blood. The city government will now lend out an oximeter for free to any COVID patient who is quarantined at home. This district chief in Taichung says that the city government has a stock of 700 of the devices and is planning to purchase another 1,200. He says if your oximeter reading is consistently below 92%, you must dial 119 emergency for help right away. The care packages handed out in Taichung also include snacks, instant noodles, canned foods, masks, a thermometer, and rapid test kits. The Zhanghua County government has also upgraded its care packages. Besides the usual items like masks, drinks, rapid test kits, and now an oximeter, the package will also come with painkillers, medicine for nasal congestion, and to reduce phlegm. When a patient is recovered and is out of quarantine, the person will have to return the oximeter to the local health center. Yunlin County also hands out care packages to those in quarantine. Their packages include a thermometer, dried foods, masks, and garbage bags. Not every county is lending out oximeters freely, as Yunlin is only giving them out to patients designated by doctors.
Taiwan's narrow alleys are famous for their hidden gems. I took a trip to Tainan, the country's original capital, and found a delightful surprise in the tiniest alley I've ever seen. The Narrow Door Café sits within a tiny alleyway in the west central district of Tainan. While Tainan is known for its small, winding alleys, this one is in a league of its own. The opening is only about 38 centimeters wide, and seems to get even smaller as you walk further down the alley before reaching the stairway and walking up to the cafe on the second floor. One might think, why would anyone choose to open a cafe in a place so hard to reach and so easily overlooked? Luckily, the owner Jessica wasn't so easily deterred when she saw the old building and decided to devote her life to protecting its history and the older culture of Tainan. Jessica said she was delighted when the cafe started drawing in visitors from around the world, and was amused when some customers claimed they had started a strict exercise regimen just so they'd lose weight and be able to fit through the entrance. Even though the cafe has taken a hit since the pandemic, Jessica hasn't run out of ideas for preserving her business and the culture of Taiwan. She rents qipals, traditional Chinese dresses, out to customers who want to wear them in the cafe or even out on a day in Tainan. There are many little cafes all over Taiwan, but this one especially stands out to me, beyond just the unusual entrance. It has managed to age gracefully throughout 100 years of history, and I hope its charm will draw people in for at least 100 more. Next up, Leslie bids farewell to Taiwan's contact tracing system.
This week, #Taiwan is coming to you from the comfort of my own home. Now don't worry, I don't have COVID. It's just that I came into contact with someone who does have COVID. I've been working from home for about a week now, and here's how that's going. So far, I've tested negative, and I'm feeling just fine. But my confinement at home should tell you something, that COVID-19 is becoming more widespread in Taiwan. Taiwan has gone from double-digit cases a day to thousands daily over the course of a month or so. One of the things Taiwan did when it had COVID contained was implement QR codes at every business, building, restaurant, food stall, public bathroom, you name it. The idea was you would have to scan these QR codes anytime you entered an establishment. Why did you have to do that? Well, the QR code generated a text message with an ID number unique to the place where you were going. You would then send that text message to 1922, the country's COVID-19 hotline. That way, if you or anyone else at that place got COVID-19, health authorities could easily look up where you had been and who had been there at the time you went. It was something that integrated itself into everyday Taiwanese life during the pandemic, and I really wondered if it would ever go away. Then, on Wednesday, seemingly out of nowhere, Health Minister Chen Shih-chung said that Taiwan was going to do away with the QR code system. Just poof, kaput. See you later, but not really. With COVID cases in the thousands now, there's really no point in keeping such a system around. Chen was just like, well, I'm not going to follow up with thousands of people. Do you want to do it? As weird as it is to say, I'm actually going to kind of miss the QR code system. I'm not going to miss scanning QR codes wherever I go because that was horrendously inconvenient, but I'm going to miss the idea of it. You know what I'm saying? Now, why am I going to miss this system? Hear me out. Anytime there was a confirmed COVID-19 case in Taiwan in the past, health authorities would announce where these people had gone based on their QR code scanning history leading up to their diagnosis, just so people can be careful and monitor their own symptoms had they been to those places as well. And I actually liked reading about where people had gone to, not because I'm some strange stalker, mind you, but I like knowing that people frequented the same places, mostly restaurants, that I did. Let's just call it a validation of my own personal tastes, why not? I mean, COVID exposure risk aside, I would always look at where people had gone to and be like, yep, been there, and been there. Now, there's absolutely no reason for me to be as proud of this as I am, but it's just an amusing way to pass the time in the time of COVID-19. That said, I cannot wait to waltz into a grocery store without needing to scan a QR code the minute I get out of here. That's going to save me valuable seconds.
Next up, let's take a look at some other news stories that are on our radar.
Facing a wave of COVID-19 infections, Taiwan on Monday loosened home isolation requirements for people identified as close contacts of positive cases. Contacts are now asked to isolate at home for 3 days, followed by 4 days of avoiding crowds and certain public spaces like restaurants. Authorities further loosened the rules on Tuesday, removing the need to take a second rapid test originally scheduled for day 3 of home isolation. The Taiwan Railway Labor Union is planning a strike for the upcoming Labor Day long weekend. Union members are protesting government plans to corporatize the Taiwan Railways Administration by refusing to work overtime and taking their legally allotted time off. Train services will be severely limited, but passengers will be able to take replacement buses to get to their destinations. Following a visit of its lawmakers to Taiwan, the Swedish legislature will discuss whether to open a House of Sweden in Taiwan. The House of Sweden is the name of an iconic building in Washington, D.C., which houses the Swedish embassy along with many businesses from the country. Third Deputy Speaker of the Riksdag, Kerstin Lundgren, says that the proposal has cross-party support.
So Stash is recovering at home, and Leslie is one of his contacts, so he's in isolation. We hope they come back on the show soon, but here Emma and I are still here.
Happy to be here.
So I do have a final question for Emma and I. And Emma, you went to a really unique cafe in Tainan. If you could open any kind of cafe in Taiwan, what would you want to open?
Okay, so I think that I would open a cafe with live music.
Ooh, That's a great idea.
Yeah, so like listening to music is one of my favorite things about going to cafes, but sometimes I feel like I'm hearing the same playlists over and over. So this time it would be sort of a unique experience for customers every time they come.
I think I like your idea better.
What's
okay,
your
well,
idea?
my idea is a fashion cafe. I think it'd be really cool to have a lot of very fashionable clothes there, fashion magazines, and maybe people in the fashion industry visit. And so you just get a little taste of the fashion world while you're there. Maybe we can combine our ideas.
Yeah, I think that would be a great combination.
So those are our ideas for cafes. Thank you for joining us on Taiwan Insider. I am Natalie Tso.
And I'm Emma Benack.
And do catch us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, we're on all these social media platforms and we've got a lot of great content, so definitely check it out.
Yes, thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week. Bye.